Hello and welcome to JoyConCast episode 16. I'm your host, Nicholas, and this week marks the first week post E3. I can't believe E3 is already over, but alas, E3 is over. But that doesn't stop the flood of news and rumors regarding Nintendo Switch. And this week, there's actually quite a bit that I wanted to talk about and sink my teeth into and really discuss this week. We have two big concerning news regarding some highly anticipated games. I also want to talk about some interesting updates regarding a certain Mario title. And we have rumors suggesting new Switch models are in production yet again. But we'll get all into that in this week's episode. But welcome to this week's episode. How is everybody doing? I'm doing fine. I'm doing swell. And honestly, I didn't really expect there to be that much to talk about this week, just because E3 just wrapped up. It kind of confirmed and debunked a lot of rumors. And I really didn't expect a lot of new information coming our way. But it looks like there's actually quite a bit to talk about this week. But of course, we'll get to all of that. But I wanted to talk about something to open up this week's show, because I kind of wanted to mention it last week in the E3 episode, in the E3 special. But the runtime was going on a little longer, and I figured I'd just save it. And one thing I wanted to talk about is Nintendo 3DS, and is 3DS dead? So there was obviously a lack of 3DS at E3 2019. The entire 40 plus minutes focused on Nintendo Switch solely. And there was nothing at all suggesting that 3DS is a primary focus right now. And even in an interview with Time, Doug Bowser, who's the new Nintendo of America CEO, basically said something along the lines of the focus of E3 was the Nintendo Switch, and while there was no new 3DS games to announce, it didn't quite mean the end for 3DS. So basically, Doug kind of what he suggested, and I don't think he's gonna straight up say, yeah, 3DS is dead, we're pulling plug, game over, everybody. I don't think he's gonna. I don't think that's something you're gonna say straightforward like that. But I do think what he was suggesting is that while there's nothing to announce now, there may be something down the line. And honestly, I can't quite see that. I can't quite see that. I can't quite see 3DS coexisting alongside Nintendo Switch. And this has been kind of a debate regarding 3DS since the Switch was announced. I remember having that discussion, regarding what would happen to 3DS. But I think now more than ever, it's clear that, we got some game releases over the past couple of years since Switch was released. We've had some releases kind of been sprinkled, but this year alone, I'm looking at the new games, and unless I'm missing some, we had. I forgot that some of these were even released. We had Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story plus Bowser Jr. Story. That was released earlier this year in January. And I actually really liked that game on Was that on DS originally? I think that was on DS originally. I loved that game. Yokai Watch 3 was released this February. Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn was released this March. And then we have some eShop titles, it looks like. Not really any big releases. We do have Persona Q2 New Cinema Labyrinth was released June 4th of this year. Looks like a new Shovel Knight title releases this year. Etrian Odyssey Nexus, released this February. Then again, I'm just kind of going down the list, and most of these games have either come out in 2018 or 2017, or are just eShop titles. They look like they're $2-3 eShop titles coming out this year. So yeah, I don't see any need for the 3DS to keep existing. Maybe in the past, Nintendo's always had a main console and a handheld partner. And while Nintendo's had some misses with their consoles in the past, I feel like their handheld side of things has always evened things out. And that was especially the case for the Wii U, where the Wii U didn't do so hot at all. It didn't do great. But the 3DS really kept Nintendo alive. It kept them floating. But now there's really no need to have a Switch and a 3DS on the market, because the Switch can do both. It can be Nintendo's main console that they market, but it can also be the handheld side of things. There's a lot of people that use Switch as a handheld device over a console. And yes, for a handheld, it can be pretty expensive. Starting at $300. I mean, if you go and look at even the new Nintendo 3DS XL, which I would personally recommend. That's the 3DS I had, and I still have it, but I loved that thing. That thing was amazing. At Walmart it's $200, which for $200 isn't bad. You're saving that extra $100. You could easily get 3 games for your system with that extra $100 that you're saving, and that's still not a bad deal. Now, the 3DS has an absolute amazing lineup. I mean, the number of Pokemon games and Mario games and Zelda games and all of that, it has an outstanding lineup, and probably right now it has the 3DS is my favorite handheld line easily. The library is so good. It's such an amazing system. And I'd say even right now you can get a Nintendo 2DS for $80. And this particular one I'm looking at includes New Super Mario Bros. 2. That's not bad at all. $80 to get your hands on the huge 3DS line, or the huge library of games. That's a good deal right there. That you can't beat. If you have a child who's maybe not ready for a Switch, or you yourself just haven't been able to keep up with 3DS games in the past, the 2DS for $80? $80 that's not bad at all. $80 is not, that's a steal right there. And like I said, you get access to every 3DS game. That's a pretty good deal right there. But I think moving forward, that's all it should be. I don't think the 3DS right now should be something that games continue to be in production for. I think right now is a good time to buy into it cheap, experience all the past games, and I think that's where that's the end of the story. When it comes to production for games, I can't see many game developers wanting to develop for 3DS over Nintendo Switch. Switch offers better hardware, a bigger screen, a bigger player base that's more, current. It's marketed more, so more people are probably going to see that, oh, hey, this game's coming to Switch. Let me go check it out. Not a lot of people are keeping up with 3DS unless they have a 3DS. And I'm sure if you have a 3DS right now, you're probably not expecting a lot of new games. And instead, you're playing or replaying a lot of the older games. So you're probably still not up to date with what's coming out for the system. So all in all, I can't see a lot of game developers choosing to develop for 3DS over Switch. So there really is no need for 3DS unless, like I said, you want to give it to somebody who they're not ready for a Switch. They're maybe not ready for a console at all. But for an $80 handheld, that is the Nintendo 2DS, the Sledge design. By the way, so it's probably not going to break with the clamshell design like the other 3DS systems. It's a pretty, it's just a slab basically, but still for $80, I think that's a great entry into what 3DS offers. But I don't think it's going to offer anything past 2019. I really can't expect. I really can't expect 3DS to continue to stay afloat or continue to be a new system or have new games in 2020. I just can't. And the thing is too, is the 3DS, if I'm not mistaken, the 3DS was released in 2011. That's a long time for a handheld to be on the market. And while yes, there's been different upgrades throughout the years. Obviously, we've had the 3DS, 3DS XL, 2DS, 2DS XL, new 3DS, new 3DS XL, new 2DS, new 2DS XL. We've had it all. We've had all the upgrades, but still, for even just a line of hardware like that, that's a long time for consoles in the console market, in the console space of things. Like, that's a long time. 8 years is a long time. That's a long time. The Wii U was released just a year after, and the PS4 was released. I believe the PS4 was released in 2013, and now, just about 5-6 years later, we're getting rumors of the next iteration of PlayStation. The Wii U's already got an upgrade, or a whole new piece of hardware to replace it. So, I don't know. I can't see 3DS continuing to stay afloat. Especially, I guess you could also compare it to mobile games. I mean, mobile's taken it's been a real hit for both Nintendo and just other companies in general. And while I don't think you can say that's a reason why we shouldn't have handheld devices at all, whenever I go on long trips, or if I'm gonna be gone for more than an hour, I'll bring my Switch along. And I prefer to play my Switch and actually play third party, second party, first party, AAA, or even indie titles. I'd rather play, console like games than mobile games. So, and I'm sure I know there's a ton of other people like that who'd rather bring a Switch or an actual handheld device along with you. So, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that it's worth keeping 3DS in production or afloat when right now the Switch kind of does both. It's the best of both worlds. It offers that console experience, but it also offers that handheld experience. And while yes, for a handheld, it's maybe a expensive entry into handheld gaming, but I think that's the future. I think that's where it's going. That's where the games are going to be. So that extra $100 that you could save, I don't know. I'd rather somebody buy a Switch and invest in that all the way and at least be up to date with the current library of games. But as of right now, like Doug Bowser said, while there's no focus at E3, it doesn't mean they're over 3DS. I think they are. I don't think Doug Bowser is going to straight up say, oh, hey, everybody, look, 3DS is dead. No. I don't think he's going to say that, but it's definitely interesting because, like I said, this conversation has been going on for quite some time. It's been going on for a while now regarding 3DS and its status and all of that. And, I don't know. I don't play my 3DS anymore. As soon as the Switch came out, I stopped playing my 3DS. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who feel the same way. And I feel like it's time for the 3DS to slowly die off. And I would say in return to that, I know there's a lot of people who maybe can't afford to upgrade to the Switch because, again, like you're comparing 3DS, which is maybe a $150, $200 handheld, to a $300 console, where games are even more expensive, peripherals are more expensive. And if that's true, then maybe these rumors suggesting that new Switch hardware could also lead to us getting a proper 3DS replacement. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the rumors that suggest that 2 new Nintendo Switch models are in production. Now, we've talked about this before. When when don't we talk about new Nintendo Switch models? Because it seems like there's always rumors pointing to, new Switch in production and all that. Like, there's always rumors suggesting this, and obviously at some point, I mean, it's one of those things where I could say that at some point there's going to be a PlayStation 6. Well, maybe not, actually. I don't know the future of that, but you know what I mean. I can always say, well, there's going to be another Mario game. There's going to be another Xbox. There's, and I don't know. A lot of these rumors that suggest that there's always new Switch models in production, obviously, yes. Over at Nintendo, they have to be working on something. The Switch, as it is right now, can't sustain for too long, just because of its inferior hardware. Obviously it being a handheld, or it being a tablet, it doesn't pin up well against Sony or Microsoft's consoles. So I'm sure Nintendo's working on something to offer a more aggressive console and compete with Sony and Microsoft in the future, or just offer a better playing experience for the fans. So yeah, obviously at some point Nintendo's going to release a new Switch system. And while console hardware upgrades aren't anything new for Nintendo by any means, I mean, we've seen it with the Wii, we've seen it with the 3DS line, even the Game Boys had a lot of different iterations over time. I think it's safe to say that, yeah, I definitely expect the Switch to kind of get the same treatment and get different upgrades over time, because the Switch is, and I think I don't know when we actually talked about this, when I talked about new Switch hardware. I know it wasn't that long ago, because again, there's new rumors all the time. But I remember a couple months ago kind of discussing what I would like from a Switch revision, and I think I remember saying something like, I wouldn't mind if the Switch, because it is a very versatile system, I really wouldn't mind if Nintendo released something that was more dedicated towards console players, like a Switch Pro of sorts, and then released a Switch Mini, which is more dedicated towards the handheld players. And then maybe right now, the Switch as it is, the current Switch, could be the in-between. It could continue to be the hybrid. And I don't know if Nintendo would ever release a Switch that couldn't be docked or couldn't be played in handheld, but I wouldn't put it past them. The Switch, while yes, it is a, not only is it the brand, it's how they market it, but it's also the main feature, is being able to switch between handheld and console. And I think that, yeah, it'd probably be an easy way to market the Switch Pro as, a pro version of the Switch with upgraded internals, better specs, all of that, and a more console-like experience. And then market a Switch Mini, which is a smaller, more portable Switch for people who want to play handheld. I think that would be fine. I mean, obviously you always have to keep into concern the amount of parents or uninformed people buying the Switch and not knowing what the difference is between a Pro and a Mini. there's people out there like that. But I don't think it'd be too hard for Nintendo to market the Switch for one person over another, and continue to have maybe a Switch that's still an in-between. Because for me, like, I still want that. I love my current Switch. And I was actually thinking about this the other day. In the past, I used to be against spending too much on my Switch, because this is how I look at it. I'm someone who's fortunate enough to have a PS4 and a PC. I could play pretty much any AAA title I want on either. And on my PC, I can get, great graphics and amazing frame rate and all of that. It's top notch. But I've chosen to play most games on Switch over PC and my PS4. And when it comes time for a big AAA release, if it's on Switch, I buy it on Switch. I did it with Mortal Kombat 11. I'll do it with Doom Eternal. I'll do it with any big release in between those games. And in the past, I used to be against spending, I don't want to spend $350, $400 on a Switch, because the graphics just aren't going to be that good compared to my PC and my PS4. And what's the point of paying all that much more money for an experience that's still going to be lackluster compared to the other systems I owned? But as I continue to play my Switch over time, in all honesty, I would spend maybe Xbox One X, $500 on a Switch, if that's what Nintendo did. Nintendo, I hope you don't actually do that, but I think I would. I love my Switch. Like I said, if I'm gone somewhere for an extensive period of time, even if maybe I don't play the Switch the whole way, I'll bring it with me, and it's great, especially for long trips, or just if I'm gonna be gone for a while. I can play 10-15 minutes here and there, or I can play through an entire level of a game that otherwise I would have to be at home to play. Like Doom. I recently picked up Doom on Switch, the 2016 Doom. And I'll talk about that towards the end of the episode. And talk about what else I've been playing. But Doom is amazing on Switch. It is fantastic. And being able to play a game like that on the go, oh my god, it's amazing. It's amazing. And I realized that experience, being able to switch between a console and a handheld experience, to me, that's more important than 4K or 120 FPS or whatever else the next iteration of PS and Xbox will offer. Like, to me, the idea of taking my games anywhere I want, that's so much more important than anything that Sony and Microsoft could do with gaming. That is what I want right there. And yeah, soon you'll be able to do that with streaming. But I feel like streaming, first off, you're probably going to have to subscribe to a service like Google Stadia. It's going to be very dependent on your internet. And with the Switch, you pay a one-time fee for the console itself. And whenever you want to play a game, it's dependent on the hardware, which never changes. Whereas when you stream, it's dependent on the internet. And if you're connecting to various Wi-Fi hotspots, those are only going to be able to give you so much. And the experience isn't always going to be the same if you want to take that game on a mobile device, if that makes sense. So I'd rather prefer playing my games on Switch than streaming them. That being said, I'm not opposed to streaming games. I've kind of changed my mind. I've had a change of heart this past week. And while I don't think, for me, streaming is the future, I'm willing to give it a shot. But I still think the Switch is going to offer a better experience when it comes to playing games anywhere you want. And if Nintendo can crank out a more powerful Nintendo Switch that offers that ability to switch between console and handheld and opens the door for even more games, for more third-party support, I would pay the price. I would definitely pay the price. I'm down for that. I'm absolutely down for that. And plus, like I said before, I love Nintendo. I'm a huge I love Nintendo. So if I can get third-party games on the same system as my Mario, Zelda, Smash, Pokemon, heck yeah, that convenience, I'll take it. I will definitely take it. I'd rather just everything be on one system. Um, moving forward this console generation, and I understand there's obviously going to be huge exceptions with exclusives and just there's plenty of games that aren't coming to Switch this year or next year. And I'm aware of that, and that's why I'm fine holding on to my PlayStation and PC. Um, but honestly, I would pay the price for an upgraded Switch. If it can, if we get, I don't know if we could ever get 1080p screen when playing handheld, but I would pay the price. I would pay the price. And the Switch has been on the market for 3 years. I mean, it's been out for 2 years now, but it's been out on the market for 2017, 2018, 2019, and by 2020, I would kind of expect maybe something hinting at a new Nintendo Switch or a Switch Pro or a Switch Mini, something else. And even if Nintendo doesn't do a huge upgrade, a huge Switch Pro, I do expect some sort of revision next year. Whether it's a new color or a different size or a slimmer Switch or something like that, or a bigger screen, I expect something in the slightest next year. And yeah, I do. While it's funny because it's one of those things where yes, anybody can say that there's a new Switch in production. There's a new Switch hardware in production. I mean, it's a given. At some point, it's going to happen. But it is interesting this generation more than anything to see how Nintendo responds with the new hardware. Especially since Xbox and PlayStation have had Pro models and enhanced versions. And those are kind of history now, as we know that the next Xbox is launching holiday 2020. I would expect the PlayStation 5 to release around the same time, maybe a little earlier. So I am interested in Nintendo's response to that with new hardware, because Nintendo's never really followed the rules when it comes to the generations. They've always kind of had their own generation. But I'm more intrigued than anything this time around to really see if Nintendo's gonna respond with new hardware to Xbox and PlayStation, and if so, how? Is it gonna be a Pro model? Are they going to make a more versatile mini Switch? Are they going to take what we have now and just improve upon that slightly, kind of like a 3DS to a new 3DS? I don't know. It's going to be interesting for sure. And I'm sure all of us have our bank accounts ready to drop the money on it when it releases, if it caters to us, obviously. I'm definitely not interested in a Switch Mini myself. But something like a Switch Pro or a new Switch that has a focus on just upgrades in terms of GPU, RAM, screen resolution, all of that stuff, like, yeah, I'd take it. So it's definitely interesting. I'm intrigued more than anything just because of the circumstances with the new Xbox and PlayStations coming out. But, of course, nothing's confirmed. We don't know for sure, and it's just all rumors at the moment. So there's really nothing we can talk about any further than that. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. What are your thoughts on that? Is this something you want to see? Do you want a Switch revision already? Let me know. I'm genuinely curious. But with that said, let's move on to some positive and interesting news. Through an update, Super Mario Maker 2 will actually offer online with friends. So in the past, I actually reported that, I think it might have been last week, during the E3 episode, I talked that Super Mario Maker 2 wouldn't have online with friends. You could have online with random people, with strangers, but not with friends. And their excuse was that it would mess up the leaderboards. I don't know how, but that's what they came up with for that issue. But it has now been confirmed that through an update, we will actually see online with friends. So this is pretty cool. This shouldn't have to be anything, newsworthy. It should have just made the cut from the get-go. But at least you're able to play with friends now, and at least it shows to some extent that Nintendo's listening. I don't know why this wasn't something that Nintendo had planned from the start. Such a simple idea, a simple feature. Why would, of all things, why wouldn't you be able to play with friends? I don't understand why, but that's that. Now the producer did say that this will be through an update, but the game will not launch with this feature. So it still kind of sucks that you won't get it upon launch. Again, a very simple thing that shouldn't have to be patched in, but at least it's getting patched in nonetheless. And like I was saying, at least this shows to some extent that Nintendo's listening and that they are going to add it in. It really shouldn't be anything of a spectacular announcement. I mean, it should have just launched with that feature, but hey, at least you can play online with friends now. I wonder how the leaderboards are going to get moved around or changed or altered in any way, if they're still sticking to the guns with that one. But there you go. Next up, let's talk about some controversial news. How do I put it? It's controversy. It's just a lot of people are upset. A lot of people have lost their minds. But let's talk about the lack of a national dex in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Now, if you have somehow missed this news, this oh my gosh, this roller coaster of events, Game Freak basically announced that the National Pokedex, wouldn't be in Pokemon Sword and Shield. And that basically means that there will only be a Galar Dex. And the Galar Dex will be filled with, of course, new Galar Pokemon. So however many new Pokemon we see. And then a handful of current existing Pokemon, of the 800 plus that we have. And there's already been quite a few that have been confirmed through trailers, through screenshots, through gameplay, stuff like that. So I know, for example, like the Charmander line is there, Caterpie line is there, Pikachu line is there. I'm just going to go through some of these. I'm not going to go through all of them. Arcanine made it. Machop line made it. Ghastly line made it. Onyx. Rhyhorn. Gyarados is in there. Of course, Eevee's in there. You have all the Eevees. Snorlax and Munchlax are in there. Togekiss. Weavile was there. I believe he was actually a Dynamax Pokemon in one of the trailers. Tyranitar made it. Pelipper's in there. Gardevoir and Gallade have made it. Wailord's in there. Dusknoir, Gallade, Drifblim, Bronzong, Abomasnow was in there. Seismitoad, Sock, just a ton of Pokemon. Axew made it. Golurk's in there. Braviary, Hydreigon, Diggersby, Pangoro, Malamar, Halucha. So a lot of Pokemon have made the cut. Bewear's in there. Mimikyu's there. So a lot of Pokemon, I mean, not a lot, but there's already been, just months before the game's release, there's already been a decent number of Pokemon confirmed for the Dex. So what does this mean? What does no national Dex mean? It basically means that the only Pokemon that you'll be able to catch, obtain, trade, or transfer in Pokemon Sword and Shield are Pokemon from that Galar Dex. So again, all the Pokemon from the Galar region, the brand new Pokemon, plus the Pokemon that I mentioned before, and then some. There's probably going to be quite a bit of Pokemon that'll be confirmed over the next upcoming months that will be confirmed for the Galar Dex. But a lot of people have been rioting on Twitter, throwing the hashtag BrainBackNational Dex tag around. And a lot of people have just been angry, losing their minds over this. And to me, I'm sitting here. This was inevitable. I mean, as a Pokemon fan, as a Pokemon player, this was inevitable. You've had to have seen this coming. Right now, there are, if I'm not mistaken, 809 Pokemon. So we have over 800 Pokemon right now. If Game Freak introduces at least 100, or even just a little under 100 Pokemon with Pokemon Sword and Shield, we'll be close to or at 900 Pokemon. That means that within the next 2 or 3 years, we'll be at 1,000 Pokemon if the next new generation introduces at least 100 Pokemon. 1,000 Pokemon is a lot to offer. That's a lot of Pokemon. And you really expect, by the time we get to like 1,200, 1,300, 1,500 Pokemon, do you really expect, think this through, do you really expect for every single Pokemon to be available in the game? I can't even imagine, I can't begin to imagine the time that it would take to develop each Pokemon in an animation. And each Pokemon has some Pokemon have just, not literally, but some Pokemon have hundreds of moves that they can learn. You have to create an animation for each one. For each evolution they have. For each shiny they have. You have to create a trading animation, a catching animation, an evolution animation. And even beyond just the game development, as a player, I would just, even right now, like going into Sword and Shield, if there were actually 900 Pokemon, I would be super overwhelmed. 900 Pokemon to complete the dex, that is crazy. And while, yeah, some people love the challenge and they love to be able to complete the Pokedex, the truth of the matter is a lot of people don't. A lot of people probably just play through the game, the main story, with a bunch of new Pokemon, maybe do some post-game, maybe do a little shiny hunting of their favorite Pokemon, but then that's that. That's it. And while I'm not saying that a few people should determine the game as a whole for everybody, I am saying from Game Freak's stance, obviously they said that it was to create a better experience, to create better animations and all of that. And I believe it. I mean, you have to imagine that the time it takes to animate and to develop each Pokemon and put them in the game, that has to take a lot of work. And I'm sure there's many other areas of the game that are going to see a huge, drastic increase in quality because there's not that quantity of Pokemon to obtain. And yeah, it does sound kind of silly that when you say not every Pokemon will be available in Pokemon Sword and Shield, it does sound silly. But a lot of Pokemon fans are acting like this is the first time that a new game in a franchise has had less than the game before it, or hasn't had the same characters as the game before it. Take a look at fighting games. This happens with fighting games all the time. One fighting game may have, we'll use Mortal Kombat 11 for example. Mortal Kombat 11 doesn't have Reptile, my favorite character. Mortal Kombat 10 had Reptile, but Mortal Kombat 11 does not. So, and even like, I'm sure that there are even first-person shooters where, in one game, this particular shiny gun is in, this brand new shiny gun is in this game. But in the next iteration of that game, that gun's been replaced or that gun's no longer there. It happens all the time with the video games. All the time. And even when I was playing like ORAS and Sun and Moon, even then I was like, wow, like the Pokedex is growing. There's a lot of new Pokemon coming out. I expect Pokemon to follow that path, and I expected it to not have every single Pokemon be obtainable for one reason or another. It's just, that's asking a lot. I mean, when you get into the 4-digit number, when we get near 1,000 Pokemon, 1,500 Pokemon, that is a lot of Pokemon. For the development side, for the player side, that's just a lot. And again, I feel like a lot of people complaining online about this, I'm not saying this to be offensive, but I feel like a lot of them maybe don't play other games outside of Pokemon, because this happens all the time. And Game Freak not having a national dex is far from the worst thing to happen in video games. It's far from the worst thing. And I don't know, it's just, I understand where a lot of people are coming from. A lot of people have games that a lot of people have Pokemon from games that they've played years and years and years ago, and they kept transferring them, and I get it. I understand that. I really, really do. But it's just for, I think this was inevitable, that not every Pokemon's going to be available for one reason or another. And I really think it's fine that I'd rather them start with Sword and Shield, and get over with now. It's brand new, console generation for Nintendo. It's a brand new generation of Pokemon. This is the first main series Pokemon titles on Switch. I'd rather them do it now, pull off the Band-Aid, get it over with. And another thing too, this isn't the last Pokemon game. There will literally be another Pokemon game a year after Sword and Shield release. So I feel like a lot of people are upset over something that's not going to be permanent. I really do understand. And like I said, I feel like a lot of these people are complaining because they've invested so much time in Pokemon. Most of them are probably, again, I'm not trying to be offensive here, I'm just saying most of them are probably kids. They're probably teenagers, and they probably don't do anything else outside of playing Pokemon, which is fine. I was the same way when I was in high school. But as an adult now, there are other things that I'd rather invest my time into than trying to get a hashtag trending that Game Freak or Nintendo are not going to see, or if they do see it, aren't going to care about it, because Game Freak they've made up their decision. Again, I understand where a lot of people are coming from. I really do. Now, with that said, one thing I've been seeing a lot of people complain about is not buying the games. Threatening to not buy the games because they feel like it's incomplete, it's lazy, it's not finished. And again, to that I say, why focus on one negative of the game? Have you not seen any of the trailers? Have you not seen the footage from E3? Besides, obviously the gameplay they showed off at E3 was not a final build. A lot of people have been using that and bashing the game. Again, not a final build. It's probably not even the latest build. It's probably not even a version of the game before the latest build. It's probably nowhere near. Obviously, that's not the full game. But, I mean, even the trailer, even the direct that we got a week before the E3 direct, there's so much cool stuff coming to this game. Dynamax looks like a cool feature. While it's not an open world game, compared to previous Pokemon games, it's pretty open world. And all in all, it looks like the best Pokemon games that we've had to date. I mean, they look phenomenal. They look amazing. And there are people that are letting this one little inconvenience ruin all of that. And again, I understand. I get it. But you don't need every single Pokemon to make a Pokemon game good. Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. It launched with only the first 150 Pokemon. And while yes, it was a retelling of Gen 1 of Kanto, still, a lot of us bought it. A lot of us played it. I think it's safe to say a lot of us enjoyed it. While there's many people who hate it for one reason or another, still, I think Let's Go kind of prepared us for that, saying, hey, look, you don't need every single Pokemon to have a good Pokemon game. And if these next Pokemon games have a really, really good story, if they have a really immersive world, if they have unique characters, and they have new features and gimmicks like the Dynamax to introduce us to, I can't sit here and complain about no National Dex. This was bound to happen. And this is all coming from a guy whose favorite Pokemon probably won't make the cut. My favorite Pokemon is Empoleon. And Empoleon probably won't make it. So, I think there's so much more to this game than just the National Dex. And again, I understand it. There's a lot of people who have spent hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of hours breeding eggs, shiny hunting, doing this, doing that. And to a lot of people, it's heartbreaking not to be able to bring your Pokemon to Pokemon Home and then into Sword and Shield. Now, Pokemon Home doesn't launch until 2020. So even if you get these games day one, you're going at least I'd say at least 2, maybe 3 months without Pokemon Home. I think Pokemon Home will probably release in March, if not like later in the year. So it's not like you wouldn't be able to, it's not like you would be able to transfer Pokemon to Sword and Shield from day one as it is anyways. And by the time Pokemon Home comes out, everyone's going to forget about no National Dex because everybody playing the game is going to be enjoying the game. And everybody complaining that there's no National Dex, you wouldn't be able to transfer your Pokemon anyways because you don't have the game probably, and Pokemon Home wouldn't be out day one. So, I think what this is, more than anything, is that a lot of people are seeing what happened to Mario Maker, for example. Enough people complained, Nintendo listened, they packaged it online with friends. It's the same thing with the Sonic movie. A lot of people saw what happened with that. They saw that, hey, if I whine enough and complain enough, maybe I can make some change. And I feel like that's what this is. I feel like a lot of people are taking a big downside to what looks like an amazing game and trying to hone in on that and make some change. And Game Freak's not going to do it. They've made up their mind. I feel like this was something that they've made the decision to do generations ago. And I think now is the best time to do it. Get it over with. Do it now. These obviously aren't the last Pokemon games. I think moving forward, we're going to see a Pokemon game every year again on Switch this time. And, we'll still have Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum remakes, or Diamond and Pearl remakes at some point, I'm pretty sure. If we get another Let's Go game, that would be awesome. I'd love to go to Johto next. And it is heartbreaking to some point. But I think it has more to do than just the models and the animation. I think it does. And Pokemon, I know a lot of people complain about the data too, saying that, 3DS cards are 4 gigabytes or 8 gigabytes, they can hold this much. Switch cards are this much, they can hold, much more. But everything in this game seems to have, gone up in quality. The Pokemon animations, the world itself looks so much better. I mean, look at a screenshot of Sun and Moon and compare it next to Sword and Shield. All of that uses much more data. I mean, I think it really has to do just with the world and how big it is, and I don't know. I think so many people are complaining because they don't understand the development behind it, and I think a lot of people are complaining because they feel this is the first time that they've probably had a game lack more the second time around than the first time around, if that makes sense. So all in all, I can't say I'm in support of it, but at the same time, I'm not mad against it. It was inevitable. At some point, it had to happen, and it is what it is. So that's the National Dex, or the lack thereof, in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Again, I understand where a lot of people are coming from. I really, really do. I genuinely do. As somebody, especially if I was younger, because I haven't played a Pokemon game since I played Sun and Moon. I did quite a bit of Wonder Trade. Was there Wonder Trade in that game? I think there was. I think I did Wonder Trade, some shiny hunting, stuff like that. Not as much as 6th gen. Like, if this was 6th gen, and I just got off of XY and ORAS, and I found out that the next game wouldn't have National Dex, it was on Switch, and it was on a new console and all of that, then yeah, I would probably be as upset as a lot of the people on Twitter. But I haven't played Pokemon seriously in such a long time. I haven't, last time I played Pokemon, I played Pokemon Let's Go, obviously, but like, I haven't played it competitively or seriously in such a long time. So for me, this is a nice fresh start, even though I never stopped playing Pokemon. But either way, I think that's enough of the Pokemon talk. We have some more upsetting news to talk about this week, and that is one of my biggest fears when it came to Animal Crossing New Horizons. And it's now been confirmed that Animal Crossing New Horizons will not support cloud saves. This is one of the biggest fears that I had for the game, because Animal Crossing is a game where a lot of people spend a lot of time playing it. And as we've seen in the past, Switch systems get lost, stolen, broken, bricked, whatever the case may be, and not having a surefire way to back up your Animal Crossing saves is terrifying. And in Animal Crossing, there's different ways to duplicate items, manipulate time, stuff like that. And offering cloud saves for this game was kind of a surefire way of being able to do that. You could duplicate items. You could, maybe if you got enough gold, you could go over to a friend's house, drop the gold, and then restart your save before you went there, and then you would have the gold back at your place, and then you could go back to your friend's house, get his gold. There's ways to do that in New Leaf. Obviously, offering cloud saves in this game, would be a way to manipulate that. But again, I said this with Splatoon 2. I said this with Pokemon. Don't let a few bad apples take away my experience. Don't let a few bad apples ruin the whole game for me. One of the biggest upsides to Nintendo Switch Online is cloud saves. But a lot of the biggest first-party titles that you think would support or should support cloud saves do not. Splatoon, there are people with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours. Pokemon, there are people with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours trading and leveling up and getting battle-ready Pokemon. Animal Crossing, I know I'm going to spend hundreds, and I'm going to spend a crazy amount of time in Animal Crossing New Horizons. And while I personally, in the past, well, actually, no, wait. I was going to say, in the past, I haven't had issues with saves. I take that back. A couple years ago, when I got a new 3DS XL, I transferred everything from my old 3DS to my new 3DS XL. And, of course, I had Animal Crossing New Leaf. And I think at that point, I had like over 500 hours in New Leaf. I had a crazy amount of time in New Leaf. And that was the one game I was scared wouldn't get transferred over to my new system. And of course, something went wrong, Because when I booted up Animal Crossing on my new 3DS after transferring it from my old one, my save wasn't there. It restarted my save. I don't know why. I'm not sure what. Every other save was fine. Every other save file for all of my other games was crystal clear, perfect, fine, except for New Leaf. So I think I did. I just straight up had to make a new town. If I'm not mistaken, I think that was the case. I'm pretty sure that was the case, and I was just depressed for so long. I'm just depressed right now thinking about it. Man. But I don't want that to happen with my Switch. And like we were talking about earlier with the new Switch hardware, if Nintendo's really going to come out with a new Nintendo Switch system and they want me to upgrade, I'd be terrified of transferring over my system from one Switch to another, and I'd be so scared of losing my Animal Crossing save again. And if there's not a guaranteed way to back it up to the cloud or back it up to, an additional SD card or whatever, that's terrifying. And Animal Crossing, while yes, there's online features, at heart, it's a single-player game. And I understand that Nintendo probably wants to make sure people are playing fair and right and they're not cheating. And I get that. But if it's a single-player game and it's not hurting or affecting anybody else, I don't know. I understand why they did it. I really do. I get their reasoning behind it. But it's so stupid and so ridiculous. And for somebody who's going to spend an ungodly amount of time in this game, while, in the past I've only had a few experiences with lost save data, unfortunately, Animal Crossing has been one of them. And so when I'm playing this game and there's no way to back it up to the cloud or back it up to another SD card, I feel like I'm playing with fire. I feel like something's going to blow up. Something's going to go wrong one of these days. And I'm going to be devastated. So, now there is, 9 months, 8 months until the game comes out. There's plenty of time that maybe they'll change their mind. If they change their mind on Online with Friends and Mario Maker 2 in such a short amount of time, maybe this next half a year, they'll take the time and, obviously this has to be some, Nintendo Japan issue that they handle. But maybe they'll change their mind. Maybe they'll come to their senses and realize that this is the best overall for Animal Crossing. And maybe they'll add it in later on in the game's life, or maybe it'll be a day one change. I don't know. All I can say is I really do hope that this doesn't remain a trend. I really hope this doesn't remain a trend for games, because I'm almost guaranteed that Sword and Shield won't have cloud saves. And right now, I know there's people freaking out because right now Luigi's Mansion 3 says it does not support cloud saves. I'm pretty sure it will. That seems like a very odd game not to have. That's an odd game just to not have cloud saves. Whereas most of the games before have been online focused. And if Luigi's Mansion 3 does not have cloud saves, that's just ridiculous right there. That's absolutely mind-boggling. One of the biggest features of Nintendo Switch Online is the cloud save. So what am I paying the $20 a month for if you only get cloud saves for some games? And I knew going into it that there would be exceptions. I mean, we've had to assume that for one reason or another, there are some games that just wouldn't support it. I kind of knew that. But a lot of the really big games that need it desperately, it's just nowhere to be found for. And that's heartbreaking. That's just devastating, because a lot of the games that don't support it should. Those are the games that we're spending hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours investing in, and to not offer it because of a stupid issue like manipulating time. I don't know. It's just such an odd. It's such an odd thing to introduce cloud saves. And when it comes to cheating itself, there's plenty of other ways that players are going to manipulate time. And that's the thing, is that there's other ways that people are still going to cheat. People are still going to go out of their way to do things that Nintendo tried to prohibit or stop. And I think them not offering cloud saves is only hurting the people who weren't going to cheat to begin with, because the people who are still going to cheat are still going to cheat, and they're still going to find things or find loopholes or go around, features or whatever. They're still going to make it work. So in the end, the cheaters are still going to cheat. The good people are just going to be screwed over. So, I don't think I've ever been more upset with anything regarding Animal Crossing than now. Like and again, I guess I wonder if this is how the people upset about the National Dex feel in Pokemon. I wonder if I feel like they feel, where it's just like, the game looks amazing, it looks fantastic, it looks awesome, and I'm looking at one little downside of the game. And I'm letting it, obviously I'm still going to buy the game. I'm still going to buy Pokemon. I'm still going to buy Animal Crossing. But for a lot of Pokemon games, or not Pokemon games, a lot of Nintendo games in general, it always feels like they do something really big, really exciting, really cool, and just the bare bones, the basic stuff they lack, or they can't get their hands on, or they don't know how to do it. And it's devastating when they can't figure out the simplest of things. So, either way, with that said, Animal Crossing New Horizons will lack cloud saves. What else is new? That's that. We'll move on. Moving on. God, I'm just so devastated about it. But the episode this week's running on a little longer. But I think moving forward, I might try to make episodes a little longer. And actually talk more about the topics instead of just running through them, because I personally do like the hour-long episodes where I get to actually just talk. So we'll see. It may be a trend moving forward. But either way, to wrap up this episode, I will talk about what I've been playing this week on Switch. Of course, I mentioned it earlier. I have been playing Doom, and Doom has been fantastic on Switch. And while, yes, it definitely isn't like playing it on PC or PS4, honestly, it's a very competent game. I haven't had any frame rate issues that I've noticed to the point where I can point them out. I'm sure at some point there's been a drop in frames or something like that, but not too bad at all. The graphics are, at least in handheld mode, pretty good. I mean, I played Doom 2016 on PC back when it came out. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved it. It was fantastic. And I decided to play through it again in anticipation of Doom Eternal. And I decided to play it on Switch this time since it was on sale. And I might buy Eternal on Switch as well. So I decided to give Doom 2016 a shot. And it looks great. It runs fantastic. It looks great. It's a very good port. Honestly, I'm very impressed. I should have picked this game up when it launched. It's fantastic. It's really, really good. I would highly recommend it. And right now, I believe it's still on sale. I'm not sure when the sale ends. Let me actually see if I can pull it up. I think the 18th. If that's the case, then it's not on sale for you guys right now. But I believe I know a lot of games have been on sale for E3, and Doom, Wolfenstein, a lot of those are one of them. But all in all, right now at $30, it's one of those games that I couldn't pass up. It plays really, really well, and yeah, it's a little weird for me just playing on controller because yeah, the sale ends the 18th. So you guys are watching this on the 20th, so it's over now. But playing it on controller is a little weird just because I did play this all the way through on mouse and keyboard. So playing with controller is kind of weird, but I've gotten used to it. But all in all, fantastic port. It's really outstanding what Bethesda, id Software, and Panic Button have been able to do, and I'm very, very impressed with it. It's a very, very great version of the game. So I've been thoroughly enjoying that. I'm hoping to make my way through. I should beat it by the end of the summer. I'm gonna work through a couple levels here and there, and hopefully by the time Eternal's out, I'll be finished with Doom again, and I can jump right into Doom Eternal. Then the other game that I've been playing on Switch, because I got it on sale, is Trials Rising. I picked this up for $15 on Switch, and I'm very amazed by how much fun I'm actually having with this game. I can't remember the last time I played a Trials game. It's been so long, but honestly, Trials Rising, it's a lot of fun. I've been really enjoying it. I've just been going through the map, doing all the contracts, playing through the different levels, and it's just fun. It's a fun game, and I've been mostly playing it. I've actually played it both handheld and docked. I played it for a couple hours docked, and I've been playing a little bit handheld as well. But it's one of those games that I can just play for like 10, 15, 20 minutes. I can just kind of play it in short bursts and try to complete a contract. And that's what I love so much about it on Switch. And so it's been a lot of fun. Graphics-wise, not very impressed with it. I mean, it's decent. It's good. It looks fine. Obviously it's not as smooth or good compared to, the other systems, but it's fine for what it is, and it looks good. I mean, I'm not complaining. And it runs well. I haven't had too many frame rate issues. A couple here and there, but not too many. All in all, though, I've had a pleasant time with Trials Rising. And I think it's normally priced at $25. Obviously, 15 is much better than 25, but I'm probably going to get a lot of playtime out of the game, so I'm glad I got it on sale. But yeah, Doom and Trials Rising have been very, very fun games that I've been playing through. Very, very enjoyable. Glad I could pick those up on the sale. I haven't played NBA 2K19 yet. I did pick it up for $3. I couldn't pass on it. I'm not even a fan of basketball. But for $3, I ended up getting it for 27 cents because I had gold points. Because I bought Trials Rising on sale. I bought Doom on sale. I pre-ordered My Friend Pedro on sale as well for 16. I think it's normally 20. So I saved a couple bucks with that. And then I was like, you know what? Screw it. For 27 cents, because I had the gold points, I ended up basically getting it for free. So, really enjoyed this sale. I got a couple games, so I kind of enjoyed it. And obviously, I'm recording this before the sale ends, so I might end up picking up a Switch or a Nintendo game. While those are $40 instead of 60, I may pick up another, maybe like Kirby or Yoshi, something I missed out on. But either way, that's that. I'm going to wrap it up because this episode's running out a bit longer. Either way, hopefully you enjoyed this week. And again, let me know what you guys think about new Nintendo Switch models and all of the news this week. With that said, if you enjoyed this week's episode, you know what to do. Leaving a like is appreciated. Following on Twitter, supporting on Patreon, all of that means the world. But that said, it's time to wrap this one up. So thanks as always for listening. See you in the next one.